It's 3:00. I'd like to welcome everyone and call the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to order. We would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash, unceded First Nation, and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters. The purpose of this meeting is to review an application for consent to sever lands within the municipality of Meaford. Let me start by introducing the members of this committee. On my far right, Mr. David Cramp, Mr. Ed Ormsby, Mr. Cam Hall, who's the vice chair of this committee. On my far left is Mr. Peter Tovel, and myself, Terry Williams. I am the chair. The municipal planning staff in attendance: Denise McCarl, manager of planning services, Helena Fascinato, planner, and Gabe Pucci, development services assistant and secretary treasurer for this committee. We are legally required to make decisions that conform to the Provincial Planning Act, as well as the existing county and local official plans. Based on these documents, as well as additional relevant correspondence, the municipal planning staff have prepared detailed reports and provide this committee with their recommendation. The community is encouraged to share their thoughts about this proposed application. For those who may be joining in remotely via Zoom or are here in person, you will have the opportunity to speak should you wish to do so. I will call upon you at the appropriate time. It is also appropriate to ask any questions you may have as it relates to these applications. Your constructive comments to this committee will help us to make informed decisions on this application. The applicant or their representative will have the opportunity to respond to any comments or questions raised either by the committee members or the public. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the decision on this application may do so by phone at 519-538-1060, extension 1120, or through email to planning@meaford.ca. Before we start the public sections, I'd like to request we review the minutes from previous meetings, as everyone had the opportunity to look at the minutes. Are there any changes or requirements necessary to the minutes from the 31st of January? No. May I have a motion to accept the minutes then? Moved by Peter, seconded Ed. All in favor? That motion is carried. Relative to the minutes of February, the meeting of February the 28th, any changes required? Comments? May I have a motion to approve those minutes? And sorry, Peter and David. David moved and Peter seconded. All in favor? That motion is carried. Now, before we begin the public meeting, I must ask the members of this committee if they have any pecuniary interest or anything of a general nature that would prevent them from making an unbiased decisions on any of the applications here today. No. Seeing none, we will then proceed with the public meetings. Committee of Adjustment is being asked to consider an application for consent under Section 45 of the Planning Act for the lands known as 438-811 Gray Road 15. The requirement to hold this meeting is that there must be at least 14 days notice as prescribed in the Planning Act. Gabe, can you please confirm that the public notice was provided at least 14 days prior to this meeting?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Notice was given on March 8th, 2024, giving more than the required 14 days notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please summarize the application and provide us with any comments that have been received concerning this proposal?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this application requests to sever a vacant parcel from the property at 438811 Gray Road 15 for the purpose of a lot creation. The proposed severed lot would be approximately 2.22 hectares with approximately 54.19 meters of frontage on Gray Road 15. The retained parcel would be approximately 1.06 hectares with approximately 27.43 meters of frontage on Gray Road 15 and would include the existing house. Comments with generally no concern or objection were received by Historic Sauguin Métis and Gray County. However, comments with concern and recommendation were received by Gray Sauble Conservation Authority. Thank you.
Elena, are there any additional comments you'd make at this time?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So based on the comments received from the Gray Sauble Conservation Authority, the applicant will be requesting deferral of the application. And the applicant is here today to speak to that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Then if you're going to request a deferral, can we have that now? And then if there are any additional questions from the committee, they can ask it of you at this time.
Okay.
If you come to the podium, please state your name.
My name is Tyson Kluwat. I'm the applicant for this severance. And yeah, I would like to defer your decision to give me more time to, I guess, interact with Gray Sauble on their latest reply, I guess.
Are there any specific questions related to the applicant here?
Not, excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Did you receive notice of this? Thank you. Did you receive notice from Grace Sauble as recently as we on the committee did, which was within the last day or so?
I found out like 2 hours ago. I didn't have a full chance to read it on the computer, just on my phone. So, but yeah, it seems to be with the flood plan, the 180 some odd page thing that they need to dive into a little more.
Thank you.
Will you retain the same engineering firm to help you with this application?
Yeah, so I'm hoping they could do it because I'm pretty sure they have like most of the information. They just need to go back and forth a couple times and hammer out the last little information, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I guess the question is, should we defer it or should we look at the decision and include a reference to the resolution of any of the concerns of Gray Sauble?
So, Mr. Chair, we talked a little bit about that. I think when we were working on the report before, we were wondering if, I mean, I kind of I didn't realize that the applicant had gone as far as he has in getting information to GSEA and working with them. But I just assumed since we hadn't heard anything that there would be something related to the water course that would have to be addressed. And so we put that in the recommendation. However, given that the Conservation Authority is asking for rezoning in this case, I think just to avoid additional paperwork, if we don't need it, it would be best if we could allow the applicant to work with the GSEA first to see if that's even necessary. It does have a significant cost and processing time for all of the parties. And so if we can resolve their concerns and determine the driveway location, potentially even require it to be installed to a certain specification and location as part of the conditions, I think that would avoid the extra paperwork that might be needed, because requiring us to do a rezoning in this case, our fees have gone up substantially, and that isn't a small ask anymore. I think it used to be a small, just another kind of like doing a variance, but now it's quite substantial. We're looking at it close to $9,000 for that application. So I think it would make sense for the applicant to kind of see if we can work this out. Because we could add a condition for rezoning. But I think just because with the amount of time we've had to digest this information as well, it's a lot to come up with conditions that would satisfy everything. So it makes sense to me that we finish, go through the exercise of discussion and then just don't make a decision until you have that additional information, because you may be able to get a more clear letter in the next few weeks from the GSEA that would explain how this was being resolved. Given that there's a water course crossing, I'm not surprised that there's quite a bit of work that does have to happen. There is an opportunity for some EP zoning changes through our 2024 update that could be incorporated into that. So that's also a potential, which would avoid having to do an individual zoning amendment. If that helps clarify a little bit.
It does, thank you. Especially because in the GSC, it said they deemed that there was certainly enough land for a building. Any idea when the update is going to be made?
So, Mr. Chair, through you, I think we're looking at the end of 2024. So we haven't started it yet. So, but I would imagine that minor refinements to EP is definitely going to be something that's going to be included. And they may be site specific like this, or they may be just some other clarifying changes like that. It's expected to be a delete and replace of the bylaw, so it isn't a small project, but our timeline is meant to be for the end of the year.
Are there any additional questions or comments from the members of the committee? Discussions relative to the recommendation to defer? Anything?
Comfortable with the decision.
Then may I have a motion to defer this file? David and Cam? All in favor of the motion to defer? Motion is carried. So the next steps is, I guess we will wait till this comes back before the committee, and then we will discuss it again at that time. Thank you. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak? No. Okay, thank you. Since that was the only application, I now call this meeting closed.
What an interesting day for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was surprised getting that email this morning.
It surprised us too.